According to multiple sources close to the royal household, there's been a quiet but significant change in how Camilla's extended family interacts with the monarchy. We're talking about access to royal residences, travel arrangements, and ceremonial placements, privileges that have reportedly been scaled back. Now, before we go further, let me be clear. The palace hasn't issued an official statement on this, but enough insiders have spoken that this story deserves a closer look. Because what's happening here isn't just about one family. It's about how modern monarchies are trying to survive in the 21st century, and the uncomfortable decisions that requires. So here's what we know. Multiple British media outlets have reported that King Charles has implemented what's being called a household restructuring. In practical terms, this means Camilla's children and extended relatives, who are not working royals, no longer receive the same informal privileges they had access to since Charles took the throne. We're talking about things like private residence access at royal estates, inclusion on certain guest lists, and travel coordination through palace resources. Now, why does this matter? Because for decades, the British royal family has struggled with a fundamental question. Where do you draw the line between the working monarchy and private family life? Let's establish some context. When Charles married Camilla in 2005, it was already controversial. She was seen by many as the woman who broke up his marriage to Princess Diana. Public opinion was harsh, but over nearly 2 decades, Camilla worked to rebuild her image. She took on royal duties and attended hundreds of engagements. And when Charles became king in 2022, she became Queen Consort, a title many thought she'd never hold. But here's where it gets complicated. Camilla has 2 children from her first marriage, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes. They've mostly stayed out of the spotlight, living private lives. They're not working royals, they don't receive public funding, and they don't represent the crown. But naturally, they have access to their mother. And when your mother is married to the king, that access starts to look different. Now this is where the story takes a turn. Because according to palace insiders, it wasn't just Charles who pushed for this change. Prince William's name keeps coming up in these conversations. Here's what multiple sources are suggesting. William has been increasingly vocal about protecting the working royal model. After the drama with Harry and Meghan, after years of scandals involving Prince Andrew, William has apparently become laser-focused on one thing: clarity. Who's in, who's out, and who gets what privileges. And this matters because William isn't just the Prince of Wales, he's next in line. Everything Charles does now, William inherits. If informal family privileges become normalised under Charles, William would be expected to continue them, or face backlash for removing them later. So from a strategic standpoint, addressing this now makes sense. One reported incident illustrates the tension perfectly. During a private gathering at Windsor, this is according to sources who spoke to British press, one of Camilla's relatives allegedly made a casual comment about future access to royal properties. The comment wasn't aggressive, but it revealed an assumption that closeness to the Queen Consort meant lasting proximity to royal life. According to these reports, William was present, and his reaction was reportedly noticeable. Not angry, but unmistakably uncomfortable. But here's the real issue. This isn't just about hurt feelings or family drama. This is about institutional survival. And to understand why, we need to talk about precedent. The British monarchy operates on precedent, meaning past actions become the justification for future decisions. If Camilla's extended family receives certain privileges under Charles, it sets an expectation. Then when William becomes king, his in-laws, the Middleton family, could reasonably expect the same treatment. And when Prince George becomes king decades from now, his future spouse's family would expect it too. You see where this goes. Each generation, the circle of people with informal royal access expands. The monarchy starts to look less like a streamlined institution serving the public and more like an extended family network serving itself. Now, some might say, so what? Why shouldn't family members have access? Here's why it matters. The British royal family costs UK taxpayers roughly £86 million per year through the sovereign grant. That funds official duties, property maintenance, travel, and security. Not appearing too frequently at royal events, using royal resources, or being protected by royal security, the optics shift. It starts to look less like public service and more like private luxury. The royal family learned this lesson the hard way with Prince Andrew. Despite stepping back from official duties after his Epstein scandal, Andrew continued to receive security, housing at Royal Lodge, and informal influence. Public anger grew. Taxpayers didn't want to fund a disgraced prince's lifestyle. Charles reportedly fought his own brother to scale back those privileges, but it took years and caused family rifts. So when we look at the Camilla situation through this lens, the reported decision makes more sense. Charles isn't punishing his wife's family. He's preventing a precedent that could weaken the crown in the long term. Now, you might be wondering, how is Camilla taking all this? And that's where the human cost becomes clear. According to sources close to the royal household, this has caused genuine tension between Charles and Camilla. And that's understandable. Imagine being in her position. You've spent 18 years as Charles's wife, weathered brutal public scrutiny, worked to earn respect, and finally achieved a role many said you'd never deserve. Your children have been supportive, stayed out of the spotlight, and never exploited their connection to the throne. And now they're being quietly distanced from the world you inhabit, not because they did anything wrong, but because their mere proximity creates risk. One detail that's been reported really captures this tension. The changes were reportedly implemented through updated household protocols, meaning administrative adjustments, not a dramatic confrontation. Guest lists revised, travel approvals adjusted, access permissions updated. It's bureaucratic, which somehow makes it feel colder. There's no villain to blame, no single moment to point to. Just a slow, systematic separation. Camilla has reportedly not spoken publicly about any of this, and palace sources say she won't. That silence is strategic. Publicly complaining would make her look entitled, reinforcing exactly the perception Charles is trying to avoid. So she absorbs the hurt privately, understanding that her position requires sacrifice. But here's what makes this story bigger than one family's struggle. This is happening against the backdrop of monarchy's existential crisis. Let's zoom out. Across the world, monarchies are under pressure. In Spain, former King Juan Carlos went into exile amid corruption scandals. In the Netherlands, the royal family faced backlash for taking a holiday during COVID lockdowns. In Thailand, unprecedented protests challenged the untouchable status of the monarchy. Even in historically royalist nations, younger generations are questioning whether hereditary power structures belong in modern democracies. The British royal family is acutely aware of this shift. After Queen Elizabeth II's death in 2022, polling showed declining support for the monarchy among younger Britons. A 2023 YouGov poll found only 33% of 18 to 24-year-olds thought the UK should continue having a monarchy, down from 47% just 5 years earlier. Charles and William understand they're managing a brand in decline. Every misstep, every perception of excess or entitlement accelerates that decline. That's why this reported decision about Camilla's family isn't just personal. It's strategic crisis management. Compare this to the slimmed-down monarchy concept William has been pushing. The idea is simple. Reduce the number of working royals, cut costs, increase transparency, and focus public funding on a core group doing essential duties. This model works in Scandinavian monarchies, where royal families are smaller, more accessible, and less expensive. Sweden's royal family costs taxpayers roughly $15 million annually, a fraction of Britain's royal budget. If Britain wants to keep its monarchy, it likely needs to modernise it. And modernisation means boundaries. It means saying no to family members who want proximity to power without public responsibility. It means prioritising the institution over personal relationships. So where does this leave us? What happens next, and what are the broader implications? First, don't expect the palace to confirm or deny these reports. Royal households operate on strategic ambiguity. If they issue a statement, it becomes a bigger story. If they stay silent, it fades into background noise. Silence is their weapon. Second, watch William's role going forward. If these reports are accurate, this decision signals his growing influence over royal strategy, even before he becomes king. Of future boundaries. If Charles is willing to create distance with Camilla's family, what does that mean for other peripheral royals? Could we see similar restrictions on Prince Edward's access? On Princess Anne's children? The precedent being set here could reshape the entire extended royal family's relationship to the crown. Fourth, public reaction will determine whether this was the right move. If British taxpayers and royal watchers see this as responsible institutional management, Charles gains credibility. If it leaks messily and makes him look cruel to his wife's family, it backfires. Right now, the story is circulating mostly in royal watching circles, not mainstream headlines. That controlled exposure suggests the palace may be testing public reaction before committing fully. And here's the final layer most people are missing. This isn't just about Britain. What happens to the British monarchy influences royal families worldwide. The UK's royal brand is arguably the most globally recognised. When they modernise, others watch. When they struggle, others worry. If Charles successfully draws boundaries between working royals and private family, and maintains public support, it offers a roadmap for other monarchies facing similar pressures. It shows you can modernise without abolishing. You can set limits without losing legitimacy. But if this decision leaks messily, causes public sympathy for Camilla, or makes Charles look cold and bureaucratic, it reinforces the narrative that monarchies are fundamentally incompatible with modern values like meritocracy, transparency, and fairness. So in a strange way, this quiet palace restructuring, if it's real, is a test case. Can a hereditary institution built on centuries of tradition adapt to 21st century expectations? Can personal relationships survive institutional necessity? Can you be both a loving husband and an effective king? Here's what I keep coming back to. The most striking thing about this story isn't the decision itself, it's the silence around it. No official statements, no palace briefings, no angry leaks from Camilla's camp, just quiet bureaucratic adjustments happening behind closed doors. And maybe that's the real story. In an age of constant media exposure, social media drama, and instant public judgment, the royal family is trying to make difficult decisions quietly. Not as reality TV drama, but as institutional management. Whether that works depends on something. We won't know for years. Did this decision strengthen the monarchy's long-term survival, or did it just delay the inevitable question of whether hereditary power structures belong in modern democracies at all? The palace has made its choice. Now we wait to see if the public accepts it, or if this quiet restructuring becomes the controversy that proves the monarchy can't adapt fast enough to survive. If you found this analysis valuable, subscribe for more deep dives into the forces shaping our world, not just the headlines, but the strategic decisions happening behind them. And let me know in the comments, do you think Charles made the right call, or should family loyalty come before institutional boundaries? Thanks for watching.